This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we finally made quorum. Thank you all for showing up today. It's 9:32. We'll call this meeting to order. Item number 2 is opportunity for public comment. Are there any comments online? Any comments? Just look at this. No?
Yeah, we had to reset the system right before we kicked it off, so.
No comments online.
Okay, no comments. All right, item number 3 then. It's an action item regarding approval of minutes from the October 15, 2025 meeting. You have an opportunity to read those. Got a motion?
I move to approve this minute.
Second. Second from Mr. Treadway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4, discussion and action item regarding the March Transportation Planning Policy Board meeting dates. You're right, you're right. Let me see if this is going to work.
All right, what you see on the screen are proposed dates for the upcoming March Policy Board meeting. Staff are requesting to push that meeting back a week. We have the KTMPO Spring Fly-In in DC to meet with, of course, other MPO policy and technical committee members, as well as meet with some representatives to discuss reauthorization efforts. The week that we would typically have our meeting. When we proposed this to the TAC, everybody kind of thought it would be good to push it a week so that we could provide an update on the activities in DC. So we planned to push it to March 25th, which is the following Wednesday, but we don't have any rooms available at the COG on the 25th. So we are proposing to either have that meeting the 23rd or 24th, or whichever dates will work best for the committee.
So
either date's fine, I mean.
Yeah, initially.
well, no, we don't have court that day. So 23rd is Monday, 24th is Tuesday. Still meet at the same time, 9:30?
Same time.
24th would work better. Makes the 23rd work.
Any objection to the 24th? Anybody? It's here. I'll entertain a motion.
I have a March meeting on the 24th of March.
Second.
9:30, Tuesday.
Move second for March 24th, meeting at 9:30 a.m. Regular time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All the same sign. Motion carries for March 24th. Item number 5, discussion and action item regarding amendments to the fiscal year 26-27 Unified Planning Work Program for Golden Shovel Website Development and Tetra Tech Transportation Improvement Program module software. Kendra.
Yes, the funds for these 2 tasks are already in our work program. We are just needing to shift the funds between our major subtasks. So basically subtask 1.4, which is the equipment, that would cover these, the cost of these projects, has a shortfall, and task 4, our MTP, has a surplus because the update of our MTP will likely occur more so in FY27. So we're requesting to move in total, when we get to the high points here, $35,000 from FY26 Task 4 to FY26 Task 1, Subtask 1.4, and $15,000 from FY26 Task 4 to FY26 Task 1, 1.4. So a total of $50,000 being moved from Task 4 to FY26 between the FYs for Task 1. There are no program or budget changes other than shifting of the funds, so no program or overall changes to the work plan beyond this.
So this won't negatively affect any other program?
Right.
Yeah. Questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the staff's recommended amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Is that Adams and Treadway?
It was, yeah. sorry. Should do. Motion carries. Let's see, item number 6, discussion action item regarding amendments to the public engagement plan to reflect updated Texas Open Meetings Act requirements and other updates. Anita.
Thank you. That public comment period has completed, and overall, the public thought it was a great idea to be informed, even though they don't particularly look for these notices. They did think that it was great to have them available in all the different places. We'll be updating that in conjunction with some of TxDOT's STEG's guidance for public engagement, and that will be completed hopefully by this Friday to be sent out with the post-meeting follow-ups. Do y'all have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm still trying to figure out the change too. My understanding is like if we put out a meeting today, we have to go to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then it can be on Friday.
Yes, 3 business days,
Yeah.
and that does not include holidays. So like, we have the holiday on Monday, so we really needed to put that meeting out Thursday.
Yeah, okay.
Thursday, Tuesday, well, actually it would have been Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, excuse me, Wednesday, Thursday.
So they're advising that the posting date and the meeting date not be counted as 3 days.
Correct.
Thank you, Kendra.
Okay, I didn't want to show if I read it right in the presentation. Thanks.
I think it was, before it was like 72 hours, and so it transitioned from 72 hours to 3 business days.
I guess this is the same change, this is state law change.
Yes, sir.
Change we're all having to make.
That's correct.
We're just taking the law, state law.
Yes, and we're updating our public engagement plan.
Yes. So do I have anybody who wants to move that we not do this? I didn't think so, but we still have that formal action. I need a motion and a second. Let's start it. Motion go, Mr. Davis and Mr. Adams. Seconds, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We're legal. Item number 7, discussion action item, also Anita's item regarding amendments to the fiscal year 25-28 TIP and 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan.
Thank you. We had 2 amendments. One was with Hill Country Transit District, and they were reallocating funds from a mobility manager salary over to purchase a new ADA compliant van, and then also transferring funds from planning activities over to capital preventive maintenance. And then also a proposed administrative amendment was the Copper's Cove sidewalk project on Avenue D from the high school all the way up to Wolf Road. And both of those had an overwhelmingly positive response for the public. Can you go one more slide, Kendra, please? We had a total of 32 responses. 3 were from the meet and greet at the Copper's Cove Public Library. The number was a little bit low because a lot of their patrons walk, and that day was really, really super cold. And plus, it was the first Saturday in January. So I contribute that cold weather and the inability for most of the patrons to attend. The HOP ride-along was really a great success. I want to thank the HOP for helping to get from Copper's Cove Walmart all the way up to the VA, then back to Liberty Park, and then using a microtransit van to get over here to work. It was quite the feat, and if nobody has ever ridden the HOP because they had to ride the HOP, I really want to encourage you to give it a shot. Okay, the people on there are just a lot of them. They rely on the HOP for dialysis, for chemo, for getting to work. I met some guys that got on the bus in Copper's Cove and commute to Temple for 6 hours. And if there's a lag in their trip, they get loaded up at work, y'all. And so they genuinely rely on the HOP for their transportation. It was overwhelming, a good experience. One of the things that was their big, Raymond, that was their big concern, is when, in Copper's Cove at that Walmart, it got pushed back 20 minutes, so they're consistently late now because of that. And so that was a big concern for them. And then this, another patron, I didn't interview him because for safety reasons, but I'm sure that everybody talked about it at the hop. He didn't have a phone, and so he didn't also understand how the process works to secure a ride. And so he didn't understand why the bus couldn't just like skip a street and get over to the house so he could get on. And that really frustrated him to no end. And he had missed his transfer bus, and it became like everybody, there was 3 buses at the transfer hub in Liberty Park, and everybody was very aware that he was angry. It was like, stay away from that guy. But overall, the drivers handled it all, and the guy that was driving my micro bus, Uryan, he was trying to guide the other driver that was having the problem, and so it all settled down. But honestly, it was a great experience, and I encourage everyone to ride it, and everybody was in favor of these amendments. And also the Copper's Cove, even though a majority of the respondents did not use that sidewalk, they were all in favor of better sidewalks. And one respondent did mention that he wanted to get in on the bidding of some of those ADA sidewalks because he felt like past work done was not ADA compliant, and he pulled out a bunch of pictures and he was showing me. I mean, he took up my time to tell me his story about these ADA sidewalks and how they weren't in compliance. However, when I gave him my card and asked him to email me those photos, he did not, so I don't have any documentation to share. But it was a great experience overall.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
This is an action. Okay, motion.
So moved.
Second.
Started with Mr. Treadway, move and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 8, discussion action item regarding the annual adoption of safety performance measures. And Callie and Tay are going to add in this.
Yeah, so this is our annual safety performance measure adoption. About 2 years ago, we decided to start setting regional goals. So we set regional numbers for number of fatalities per million miles traveled, number of serious injuries per million vehicle miles traveled, and number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. So like I said, we started doing this around 2024 of adopting regional targets. And we did have our safety task force review the targets for this year, and they agreed to still keep with what we have been doing, which is for traffic fatalities, adopting a 0 deaths by 2050 model. So for 2026, that would mean a target reduction number of 52 fatalities. For serious injuries, they recommended the 25% reduction, which is a target reduction of 310 serious injuries. And then for number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, a 0 deaths by 2050 model, which would be a target reduction number of 31 fatalities and serious injuries. And so here is the historical crash data, and then our targets from 2025 to 2026. So you can see how we're having the trend downward due to that 25% and that 0 deaths by 2050 model. And then, let me go one more. Sorry, our PowerPoint's about 6, I was looking at something else, but yeah, these are our fatalities. You can see the trend is the red line, and then the stars are what was actually recorded, and then we've got our trend down to the 2050 model, and the next slide, the serious injuries, so the trend going upward, and then the 25%, and then the actual number of serious injuries. And same with this one. So those are the numbers we're going with and how we're projecting the targets out. And so yeah, it's up for TAG recommended approval of these targets, as did the safety task force.
So obviously we're not meeting target.
Right.
I mean, are we just gonna keep beating our head against the wall and keep seeing the target get lower, but the actuals get higher? What effect is this? And I'm not.
Yeah, I know.
But, and I know tax had discussions, we're having discussions now. It just seems like a futile exercise if there's not some solution to help get to those things. And in my personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, if we don't enforce speed laws on particularly the highways, speed is what kills. And we all know that, and we all see that. And so if there is no solution to both state and local governments to enforce those speed limits on those highways, do we ever have a chance of ever meeting these measures?
So I don't know that we can meet them, but the real purpose of these is to inform our planning documentation so that we can, so that the policy board can fund projects that mitigate these types of activities. And I know speed is one, but distracted driving, and there are a slew of other things that cause people, engineering all kinds of things. But these targets are meant to inform our scoring process and mechanism. So when we go through and, you submit a project for this and you submit a project for this, well, how does that have an impact on our safety target? The one with the safety impact is going to score higher and potentially receive funding before the one without the higher safety.
Absolutely, yeah. I see us investing a lot of money, and rightly so, in building safe highway structures. And I think TxDOT does an excellent job at that. But no matter how safe you build a highway, when people exceed the limits of that highway or don't pay attention to that highway, they die. And that's the part, I don't see a lot of solutions for that, or I certainly don't see a lot being recommended. And I don't know the answer for that, but in order for those metrics to change, I think that's the height of the focus, or should be, and maybe we need to start having those discussions. Yes, sir.
So comment from the peanut gallery from TAC conversation. It's less about whether that number should be 58 or 54 or 52. We all want that number to go down. It's more about the process that we're paying attention to that data. So if you look at some of it may shift as they finalize the police crash reports. It looks like for 2025, we're going to be at 49. That's a drastic drop from the past couple of years. So the next year when we do this and the staff brings us charge, that trend line is going to shift. The following year, it might spike up again. And there's things that we know contribute to spikes in fatality. Big work zone projects, that's going to have an action. Change in traffic patterns that people aren't accustomed to, even if you're doing it for the right reason. Put in a new traffic signal, put in a four-way stop and slow it out.
Absolutely.
Which I'm excited about.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
I heard some feedback about the drive home yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to get funny feedback, but nobody's dead. That's the key.
Yeah. But in the end, we've got a process. We look at this number and say, why is the trend line shifting? And then dig deeper. Is it a Killeen problem? Is it a Temple problem? Is it a TxDOT I-35 problem? And then we start digging into those areas, and then that's to Uryan's point. Then we've got projects that we're going to bring forward and say, this is addressing that. And hopefully, optimistically, it contributes to bringing that number down. But it's also a lot of education, it's a lot of enforcement. So we're part of that process. So the point is we've got a process and not too worried about whether this is the right or wrong number.
And I completely agree with that. I just wanted us to have that discussion.
Sure.
On record, so that when KTMPO is potentially criticized for voting for things we know are not attainable, we understand what the process is and why. So I just wanted all that on record, so I appreciate your participation and indulging me for a little bit. This is an action item. Would you like to take action?
Bobby?
Yes, sir.
So I want to double down everything Jason just said. He's spot on. But we always talk about, the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. And if one of those is lacking, which you're talking about, it doesn't necessarily mean the other ones aren't working.
Right.
But as a recipient of a recent speeding ticket.
I have a biased opinion right now.
Enforcement out there. But,
There is some.
those are things that we talk about extensively at TxDOT, every single project that we do. And we have a saying at TxDOT, every project is a safety project. We build it into every safety project. Some of the recent changes, and we are seeing a change in the trend of serious injuries and fatalities statewide and locally in the Waco district. And I like to think, I don't have just anecdotal, but I like to think that some of the differences that we've been making across maybe the last decade are finally starting to show up on the system. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing and double down on the safety side.
If nothing else, just focusing on the fact that we have safety issues is always, even if we're safer tomorrow, we need to keep focused on safety issues and keep working towards that goal.
Appreciate you bringing it up.
Absolutely. Yep. Any other comments, discussion? There's been a motion to adopt.
And the motion we need, on the agenda, it says to regarding the adoption, the motion we actually need is to approve the resolution. It's also included in your packet that has the numbers that was just discussed. I believe it's page 44.
So the action item itself is to approve the resolution.
Resolution supporting safety and performance measures.
Okay.
Go ahead again.
All right.
Move to approve resolution number 2026-01.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those, no further discussion. All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9, discussion action item regarding the annual adoption of HCTV Transit Asset Management Plan and Performance Measures. Ms. Supel.
Yes, the transit asset management plan was attached to your calendar invite, as well as the next item. Those two plans were included in that email from Callie. So those targets are also reflected in a resolution to be adopted if the policy board sees fit. So those measures are included in your packet as well as in the resolution. And I'm sure Raymond can answer any questions if there are specific to the plan.
Questions, comments? What is our motion?
All right. I move to approve resolution 2026-02.
Move and second, Mr. Pilkington. All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Was that one opposed, or was that?
That was a late eye.
A late eye? Okay, just want to make sure. Get the record straight. Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion action item regarding the annual adoption of HCTV Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan and Performance Measures. And I believe Ms. Supel's already explained this as well, but I'll give you the floor if you need it.
Correct. The first one was the state of good repair performance targets, and this is more along the safety targets for public transit. Again, that plan was included in your email, and these are to be adopted this month so that we can present to our federal partners that we've met this requirement. Anything to add on the PTAS?
We go through triennial reviews, state reviews. We make sure that all of our safety targets are in compliance with federal and state. I think we've done a pretty good job year over year. But nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
I noticed it had zeros, and we were just talking about what that do. Is that because it's tied into the?
I'm sorry, say that again.
In the resolution, it mentioned like fatality 0. Of course, we all want 0.
Zero targets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that because it's tied into the other plan?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion?
All right.
Good man.
Resolution 2026-06.
I have a motion, I have a second. Raymond, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I didn't think I should make a motion on my own.
Motion carries.
That's why I was silent on that.
We'll give you a chance on the next one. Well, now that's discussion item. Discussion item regarding textile semi-annual project status update. That belongs to Mr. Yates. Got a lot of explaining to do, sir.
Morning, everybody. So I'm giving our biannual construction update presentation. So for January 26th. So here's kind of a list of projects I'm going to be talking about, and also some stuff about projects can close out and upcoming projects. So first project, State Loop 363. We're beginning in 24. We are expecting this project now to finish up this summer. This is the first time I've given this presentation, well, not counting TAC, where I said summer of 26. Previously I said summer of 27. They are going to finish early, it looks like. They're making good progress currently in their second phase of concrete paving, which is kind of the last really big thing. And we'll just have a bunch of smaller things like topsoil and seeding and you know, connections and that kind of stuff. So currently working on concrete paving and concrete barrier. Kind of shows the limits of the project. I kept this in here from previous presentations because it does a good job of showing what the project is. Basically, the lower shows how we're elevating to tie into the new interchanges where we're building new overpasses and industrial loop to Callie. So that's basically kind of what the project is. So that was that one. Next project I presented is our Rogers Bypass project. As anybody who drives this noticed, right before Thanksgiving, or the first week of December, we did a pretty significant traffic switch. We actually put traffic on the westbound lanes of the bypass. It actually goes around Rogers now. This one still says summer of 27, but I'm actually, we're getting pretty close to being confident that we're going to finish this one this summer too. So they're currently primarily working on the County Road 113 interchange, and then once we start getting temperatures again, this probably late spring, early summer, we start to put down final paving when they're on the surface for the portions that didn't already get final paving. So again, the contractor that we have in there that's came in there after our challenges that we experienced with the project, they've been doing a great job for us. Overall, this project's moving really well.
Did changing contracts that impact the $78 million project cost?
There has been some additional work that they added to the project, but it wasn't a result of the default. It was identified some other stuff. So that number is a little bit bigger at what it's going to finish at, but it wasn't because of the default.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, this kind of shows what we're going from and to and the limits of the projects. So the next project is our County Road 113 or 1123 bridge replacement project. We replaced 3 bridges along that road. We had bridge replacements. They opened those bridges on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So that's fully open now. Basically, we're going through punch list items and some final work that's outside the bridges. And we're expecting that one to finish sometime this spring. And again, I put this slide in here to kind of show where the locations are of all those bridge replacements. Next project is our Turkey Run project on Fort Hood. As most of you know, this is the first project through this agreement between TxDOT and DOD. This project's going really well. I set this up for TAC, that's how I wrote this slide. They are now doing concrete paving for phase 1. They actually started that yesterday. So it's moving along really well. And we expect this one to be finished on time.
They're doing great work out there.
Yeah. There is the project came through on the bids so well that they've identified some extra work that they are, the basis at actually looking at having us add to the project. So we're going through that process right now to update the agreements and design some additional work and stuff. It's mostly culverts on one of their tank trails that are downstream of the culverts we're replacing with this project. So it's going really well. Next project is also kind of a Fort Hood Copper Stove project. It's building new ramps for Old Georgetown Road and an on-ramp from Old Georgetown Road and an off-ramp to Tank Destroyer from SH9. Work we begin in November. Currently doing right-of-way and earthwork, a lot of earthwork right now. So they're making good progress on this one. Again, this one is big pre-construction. This one has started since my last presentation. Next project is our IH-14 safety lighting project. This is high-mass lighting. It began in November. Probably didn't see much going on until recently because they had the lead time on the high-mass poles. But they've started doing pole foundations, and there's a couple spots where they have to pull barrier rail out to be able to get in to drill them. And so if you drive down I-14, you'll see this work happening right now. Again, this one is expected to finish this summer. So I got these slides from, this is actually being managed by our ancillary office, but I did ask Jeff Jackson, who's the AE out there, for some slides so that I can go ahead and talk about it, because I know this is a big deal to the policy board. And so work is expected to begin next month. They did already have a kind of internal pre-construction conference with just the staff and the contractor, and they'll be having a more public kind of opening it up to city and utilities, law enforcement, that kind of stuff, shortly later. So, kind of just a brief description of the project. I think everybody in this room is probably familiar with it, but it's basically adding the other half of the code bypass. Kind of shows the limits of it on that map. And I kind of showed Jeff what slides I've been putting in before, and so he gave me some of the same types of information. So basically adding the other half of the road is what it is. So, project currently in the closeout, State Loop 121. We still have some handrail that needs to get finished up. They had a challenge with one of their suppliers, and it's a really long lead time item, and so it's kind of the last thing that's hanging out before the project's done. And maybe a little bit of punch list stuff, otherwise that project is complete. Our Spur 439 Mill and Inlet project in Nolanville, it's completely closed out now, but it was in my presentation last time, so I wanted to go ahead and reference it. Yeah, 35 West Area Truck Parking project. If anybody drives down there, they know it's completely open. All the parking's been added. There's just some final punch list stuff around some of the lighting that we had to do, and there's some stuff tied to the rest area, like some upgrades to meet some environmental quality stuff, that kind of stuff that we're doing. Our SH-195 barrier from FM 2670 Williamson County line, all that's left on that is a little bit of painting for the barrier, because we used precast barrier that we took from our stockpiles. We had to repair it, and then we're painting it. That's all that's left on that, and that project is going to be closing out soon. So, upcoming projects. I realized after I gave the presentation to TAC, there are two projects I didn't put on here. They're both sidewalk projects. We are doing a sidewalk project on FM 436 in Danville River. We already had a big con on it. They should be starting construction on it in a couple weeks. And we're doing a similar sidewalk project in Morgan's Point Resort along FM 2483 and then up Morgan's Point Road. And again, we had a big con on that last week. So work on both of those will be starting early in February. So upcoming projects. So Victor talked about this in TAC. You can speak to this a lot more intelligently than I can, but essentially both of these projects had scheduled let dates in 27 and 28, but they have available let dates this fall. And I believe he already did the paperwork to move 121 up to a fall letting for 26, and 2484, last time I heard, was more like early next year. So it's not set yet, but it's got an available to let in November. So I listed these because they're pretty good sized projects in Bell County, and they're also, it looks like they're getting moved up. So, does anybody have any questions?
Quick question on 2484. Thank you for the stop signs. I know you're going to get some negative feedback on that, so people
From my own maintenance section supervisor, actually, yes.
Oh, really? So did they try to run him over?
No, he does not stop the traffic. Oh, okay.
I did get all of our law enforcement in that area, constables, game wardens, I mean, all of them. And sat them in a room and said, hey, this is going to be problematic, and if there's anything y'all can do, I appreciate it. And they worked very well together, and we had a constable out there all day long. They're gonna sheriff and DPS and everybody's helping. Even Toledo ISD all around down the road. And so that has gone well, and people have, like I said, not A-Rex, fingers crossed, but a lot of that I believe is because of the patrols that are out there that people don't try to do stupid things when they see lights on top of the truck out there.
We do intend to leave the message boards out for a couple more weeks to help with the information. I'll say that one of the constables actually pulled over a gravel truck while we were in the middle, and the feedback I got from our guys is they were putting up the signs. And so, yeah, the help of the law enforcement it's a big deal.
They're doing a great job.
And also, I just, one of the constables stopped by our office asking about a different road, 2043, asking about weight restrictions. We actually pulled the old 59,000-pound weight restrictions off a bunch of the roads a few years ago, but I had a conversation with him about doing weight enforcement on that road because one of the gravel pits out there just got a contract for something in Killeen for like 1 billion tons of rock. And so they're going to be putting some effort into some weight enforcement, even though it's not load restricted, just by basically the state law weight requirements. So really appreciate that because those overweight trucks really tear up our roads. So
the questions I'm getting about that 2484 or 1670 interchange are what stop signs are now. That is planned to have a traffic signal when the full build out is done. I'm aware of that. But is there any plan? Will the traffic lights go up before all the work is done out there? Is there?
So I need to double check and make sure it's made it into the plans. But from our last plan review, I did ask if we could get a temporary signal put in there. And so working on getting that into the plans. If it doesn't make it in there, then we'll be having some conversations about whether we can add it as a.
Not complaining, just wanting to be able to know an answer to tell people when they ask. Thank you for what you're doing.
At least it's our plan to at least try to get temporary signals put up as early in the construction as possible.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? All right, appreciate you. Thanks for being here, as usual. Let's see here. Item number 12, discussion item regarding quarterly TIP project readiness updates and draft 2027 UTP. Mr. Murphy.
All right, very well. I don't have a whole lot on this in your packet. You will see all of the projects we have listed for the 25-28 TIP. In addition, on page 78, I believe, the projects for the UTP are listed. And I believe the final list of all those projects will be provided at the March policy board meeting. I'm open to any questions anyone may have.
No questions, no comments? All right, next item is a discussion item number 13 regarding the fiscal year 2025 annual performance expenditure report and the fiscal year 25 annual project listing.
All right. As you may recall, last year we thought we were going to have to do a special meeting in November or December to approve the expenditure report. We received notification sometime in November that we weren't going to need to do that. So we have sent everybody a copy of the paper, or it's included in the packet. If you didn't receive it, please let me know. But that has been submitted to TxDOT, the annual project listing. We are still waiting on information from TxDOT to bring that back to the board once we have that information. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to see that information. Once we have it to report, we will report it to the board, but we're happy to try and answer any questions you may have on the paper.
No comments. Item number 14, discussion item. Thank you, Uryan. Item number 14 is a discussion item regarding updates to the Regional Active Transportation Plan. Anita.
Thank you. The plan is moving right along. We did have a little lag over the holidays. However, I think that worked in our favor as Lampasas gained a new state park, Post Oak Ridge State Park, and they had some public meetings in Austin as well as in Lampasas. They had a real good turnout. I'm working with the project manager to try to get her to present at our ATAC meeting. One of the things that I learned at that public meeting is that all the state parks in Texas are about the size of Travis County. So if you think about in comparison to how big Texas is, that's very small. And for us, Lampasas is not in our specific KTMPO region. However, it borders it, and when you're thinking about a regional active transportation plan, you definitely want to be thinking about state parks nearby. And then also, we had the opportunity to partner with Texas A&M. They requested a letter of support for a recreation grant, and so they named us as a collaborating partner. So that's exciting. Having said that, the plan is to finalize our regional active transportation plan for the March meeting, which I think was just changed, so that date's going to change.
And, excuse me, Anita,
yes, sir?
What would that grant be for?
It's for a sidewalk, it's for a trail that is at Texas A&M going towards Killeen, I believe. I don't have the exact GIS layer with me off the top of my head, but I can email it to you if you're interested.
Absolutely.
That's supposed to connect to the regional trail on that backside, I think.
Yeah, I cannot give you the specifics on that, but I'll be happy to include it in a follow-up email if you're interested. We'll do that. Any other questions?
Well, anybody else? Yeah. Item 15 then, discussion item regarding public input received through the previous month. Still Anita.
Thank you. Been a busy little month for January. We're not even finished yet. We've had 4 public comments. And so I don't think that this is, oh yes, this is the correct graph right here. We've received 4 public comments, and 28 were on the amendment, but actually that's going to be increased to 32. On the public comments, they ranged from, one was in Copper's Cove. It was not related to our plan amendment, so they filled out a form. They would like sidewalks and lights over off Wolf Road. And then one had to do with the expansion, the public meeting over that Tech Stop held in Belton and in Temple. And so I responded to that. One was on public transit. And I'm still reaching out to the one on public transit because this is a case manager for employees that work on Fort Hood that rely on the HOP, and she is a contract manager out of state. So I've emailed her how she wanted to proceed, and I haven't heard back from her. I also left her a phone call, and as soon as I do hear from her, Raymond, I will forward that information over to y'all. And then one was for a consultant. So it's no month for public comments.
Anybody else have questions, comments? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir.
Item number 16, it's your show, Director.
All right. And pretty good to get some coffee. It's been a while. It's been a few months since we've been here. Now, I'll try to make this as brief as I can. As you'll see on the screen, we have our upcoming meetings. Of course, the March meeting has been changed. We'll ensure that we send that information out to everybody so they're aware. AMPO and TEMPO updates. At the beginning of the new year, AMPO selected new leadership for their policy and technical committees. Thankfully, I'm still on the committee, but I'm no longer the chair of that committee, so somebody else can lead the charge on the reauthorization efforts. But Kendra and I are on both on committees there. I'm on the policy committee. Kendra's on the TAC, and I believe Anita is on the active transportation committee for AMPO. So we're very active with our national organization. KTMPO, they selected new leadership toward the end of last year with a new chair being the MPO director for the Grayson County MPO, Clay Barnett. I ran unopposed, and I did not throw my name in the hat and was selected as vice chair, although it doesn't look like I'll be able to attend many of their meetings this year. So on the state front, we're also well represented on TEMPO. When I'm unable to attend, staff typically attend in my place. Reauthorization efforts, as everybody's been tracking, I'm sure. We are hot and heavy into reauthorization, hopefully to have transportation funded through the next surface transportation bill by September. That's what everybody on the Capitol is pushing for, and they're pushing hot and heavy for this, hoping to have marker bills sent out by sometime in March, so possibly by the time we're up there for our AMPO fly-in, we'll have some marker bills to review as the policy and technical committee and provide feedback to those efforts. So we'll be up there for that. I know there's also still a bill going through right now. I believe one of the many bills, the Hutton Transportation Bill, I believe still has to pass the Senate before it's funded through the rest of the year. That's one of the minibus. I think there are 4 of them that are currently going through the process. Right now, everybody should have seen, or their staff should have seen, a request from Callie that was sent out to review their functional classification. I believe we received all of our responses for that, and have been communicating and coordinating with TxDOT and Federal Highways on the functional classification review process, which either upgrades or downgrades your roadway in the eyes of the Federal Highway Administration and determines what type of funding can be associated with those. The FY25 Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, we were awarded that grant. We will be beating down your door for in-kind. We're going to start those conversations as soon as we have a signed agreement, because of course anything we do until we have a signed agreement doesn't count. So there'll be more to come on that. Other updates that I have, if you aren't aware, the COG had a TBC grant to fund veterans transportation. That grant was ended December 31st. We've applied for funding for that, but we don't know if we'll be picked up for that funding or not, and won't know until at least the June-July timeframe, because that program would start in August. That being said, the TVC recently redid how they do their grant program. So all programs that were receiving grant funds through TVC were required to resubmit applications this year. Usually it's half one year and then half the next, with kind of like a 2-year roll. So all grants had to be resubmitted and the funding stayed the same. So, you know, the pie didn't get bigger. The applicant pool got much larger, doubled. So we're unsure of what that's going to look like. That being said, we do actively have the Housing for Texas Heroes program. This is not an NPO program, but the COG has Housing for Texas Heroes program. If you know low-income veterans that need assistance with modifications to their home, please have them reach out. We have that program here in the building, and we have plenty of funds available to help those veterans. What else do I have on here? The certification review. Our 4-year federal certification review is scheduled right now for April 15th and 16th. We're still coordinating what an actual agenda looks like for that. The certification review process will be held here. we expect there to be, they have to do interviews with 3 elected officials during that process. We're hoping they can do that the day of the policy board meeting, so that elected officials don't have to come in the 15th and then the 16th as well. So those interviews should start at 8:30. We'll have 2 prior to the policy board meeting. Policy board will meet. Federal Highways and Federal Transit will be here for that meeting, and everybody else that's part of the review committee. And then we'll have our last elected official interview. And at that time, pretty much everybody will be free to do whatever, but you're more than welcome to attend the federal certification review meeting. We're going to go through a lot of information. We have a new Federal Highways representative, Kurt Faber. For the 8 years I've been here, we had Justin Morgan, who was our Federal Highways rep. With the reorganization and restructuring, our KTMPO got aligned with Kurt. Kurt has been with Federal Highways for a very long time, and is no stranger to this, and has been meeting with us regularly to discuss the upcoming certification review and trying to reassure us that this is not a Federal Highways trying to play a gotcha card, that, you know, they're just trying to see where they can help us kind of identify best practices, where we can make improvements, and then possibly use some of what we do to provide that information to other MPOs across the nation as well. Like I said, that'll happen April 15th and 16th. And then the last couple of things I have is the February meeting. I have asked TxDOT in Austin, Carolyn Mays, I'm not sure if any of you remember, I believe she spoke last year around February, March, I could be mistaken. I've asked her to provide a high-level update for TxDOT priorities and strategies that they have going on, especially with reauthorization coming up this year. So we're waiting to hear back on whether or not she's going to be able to attend that meeting and possibly present. And then I believe Kirk is scheduled to be here for the February meeting as well. So we'll be able to introduce him at that point in time. And then any policy board members will be able to ask him any questions. With that, the air quality reading 43 parts per billion. We're in the green. Did I miss anything?
Look like, what else?
All right, we haven't heard from you in a while, so I thought you must love it. So thanks for keeping brief. Thank you for talk fast. Thank you for what you do. Brings us to item number 17, member comments.
I just like to thank all the local communities this past week, especially this past Saturday, to show their love and support for Officer Harrison and his family and the city of Copper Cove. We really appreciate it.
100%. Yes, sir.
So this past December, Hill Country Transit District actually went to the U.S. Pentagon to receive an award for the Hill Country Transit District. And with me was our board chair, Mike Pilkington, and Joseph Solomon from Killeen, the vice chair. And I didn't realize the significance of the award until we were actually sitting in the Hall of Heroes, and we see all of these leaders of the military at the Pentagon come in. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Hall of Heroes, it's where all the Congressional Medal of Honor winners are placarded around the wall since the Civil War. So that in and of itself kind of gives you the indication of the significance of the award. There were only 5 awardees worldwide. I thought this was a national thing, but it was actually worldwide. There was one organization from Germany that partnered with a military base there. They didn't speak any English, so they had a translator. But it was an honor, and a lot of the folks there said, from the military side, how big a difference what we did at Fort Hood has actually made, to the point that it's become the gold standard. We're already seeing other military bases around the country implementing microtransit like we have at Fort Hood. And the presentation that was made by the Fort Hood staff was that they carried 3,000 passengers annually before we started. Their knock it out of the park goal was 30,000 trips. We carried 220,000 trips, and everybody in the room was just like, wow. And we were the last ones out of the 5 to get presented. And it did appear to me, although all of them were significant, that the expression on people's faces when they heard about that and how it's helping soldiers and their families with quality of life was really phenomenal. And I tell our staff that it doesn't matter how big or small you are, even if you're small, you can do mighty things. This is a perfect example of how Central Texas, Hill Country Transit District has changed the way the U.S. military will move people, and we're starting to see that multiplication factor happening throughout all their military installations. And I believe it'll happen not just with U.S. Army, but you'll start seeing it with U.S. Air Force and other branches of the military. So we could have done it without all the support of our cities and KTMPO and the Tullos. So just wanted to share that honor with all of you. Thank you.
Congratulations and well done. Appreciate you representing the area well for us. And that's all what y'all do over there.
Yeah, and thank you. It truly has been a great partnership and it's making the difference. I know the times I've ridden it on the installation, you see soldiers that normally would be walking long distances because so many come without cars. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that is not having a car or a driver's license, but
yeah, they need a license.
That's okay sometimes though.
So Fort Carson in Colorado is actually deploying next. I think there's also El Paso, the installation there, Fort Bliss, they're doing implementation. And then the city of Fountain, which supports Fort Carson, very small township, is taking all that on. But now Colorado Springs transportation system now wants to join in. So you can just kind of see how it's multiplying regionally, and you'll start seeing this across the country. So it's very cool. I just want to share that with you.
Yes, sir.
I chair the Military Communities Council at NLC, and I put down the agenda in our last meeting, but Ogden, outside of Hill, their mayor and their base commander talked about possibly. I've kind of touted what you guys have done so far.
Excellent.
But that's going to be on our agenda in NLC in March, transportation support on base. Also, related to NLC, I hosted a drone thing when I chaired the transportation committee. FAA, so anybody aware if you're interested, is doing rulemaking for drones because they're now you're going to start seeing more drones across the sky, either taxis or deliveries. I don't know the effect that I have on cities, but I'm sure they're going to push what I gather, they're going to push a lot of the responsibility in some cases to the states, and we may have to try to, I don't know if that's something that KTMPO touches on, but being around the base, I know there's already restrictions that they are factoring in, but if you go to FAA's rulemaking site and you have an interest in that, please do. And then in March, around the same time as the fly-in as NLC's Congressional Summit, we'll be pushing a reauthorization as well for funding. Hopefully, the stance again for the NLC has been to push more direct funding, not all the direct funding, just a little bit more to cities and MPOs. And I think we're partnering with AMPO and what's the other agency?
ARC, NATO, AMPO, National League of Cities, NACO, did I say NACO? So it's the lot, it's Leaders of Transportation Coalition. It's 5 or 6 organizations.
And lastly, Killeen is hosting the TML Regional 9 meeting if you're interested. It's at 6 o'clock on the 19th. If you want to go to have dinner, contact Ms. Dunbar at our city manager's office, 501-7700. If you're members of TML, if you want to be. But that's February 19th at 6 p.m.
All right. Any other comments? Okay. Okay, well, from my chair, I just want to thank y'all. It's new year. Thank all of y'all for what you've done so far. Thank you for your commitment to this next year. We got a lot of work to do around here, and we're the ones that are tasked to do it. I appreciate your dedication to our community. God bless all of you. And with that, I'm adjourned.
Thank you.